Verse 13 goes on, and Abraham hears of the captivity. So what does he do? He marshals an army. Now, let's have a listen to what it says. Then one who had escaped came and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Anna. They were allies of Abram. Now, when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed 318 trained servants who were born in his house, and they went in pursuit as far as Dan. Now, firstly, this is the first mention of the term Hebrew in the Bible. So Abram is actually known as the Hebrew. It's probably a reference to the fact that Abraham came from beyond the Euphrates River and passed over the river to come to Canaan. The word Hebrew comes from the root which means passed over. The Septuagint, translated, when the Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Old Testament, translates it the passenger. Now, I don't know which one's going to be the best or the most accurate of those interpretations. Notice too, he armed 318 trained servants. Well, this demonstrates that Abram was pretty rich. Any man who could assemble 318 servants, let alone servants capable of fighting, must have been pretty rich. Notice too, it says they were trained servants. In other words, Abraham may have been a man who walked in faith, but he was also a prudent man. He kept his own personal army, and he apparently kept them trained and ready to defend his interests. And off he went. He went in pursuit as far as Dan. In other words, Abraham's army pursued the confederacy of the four kings for a long distance to the night. Okay, to the city of Dan. That's up there. That's up in the north. And I think it's up in the northern border of Israel. So if you look at the map, you can get an idea of how far it is. The gates of the city of Dan in Abraham's time, well, they've been discovered by archaeologists. I find this intriguing and can be viewed apparently in the Israel National Park at Dan. That's incredible that we have that kind of archaeological evidence. Verse 15 goes on to talk about Abraham leading his army to victory over the four kings. Listen to this. He divided his forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them, pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shavah, that is the King's Valley, after his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer, and the kings who were with him. Wow, this is an interesting turn up, isn't it? But here, it says he was a good tactician. He divided his forces against them by night. Abram had a military wisdom, using clever tactic of night attack. With his army split into two groups, he succeeded in not only rescuing Lot, but recovering all of the goods. And he seized all of the four kings. Hey, way to go. We can go, yay, one for Abram. But he also brought back his brother Lot and his goods. Unfortunately, Lot just seemed to move straight back into Sodom. And he refused the warning from God that this could have been. And he would eventually lose everything when Sodom and Gomorrah were actually ultimately judged by God. And that's in a couple of chapters' time. You see, all this is very nice. And it points out the volatility of the politics at that time. Hey, not much different from now, really, is it? Not much has changed. But what do we get from it? I mean, what's the lesson for us? Because when we look at the Bible, we need to be able to say, what do we get from this? Well, firstly, politics is variable. Just ask our Premier or our Prime Minister. The situation changes and can change nearly daily. Allegiances changed, purposes changed. Abraham went from being a farmer to a general in a single day. That's incredible when you think about it. Secondly, face the issue at hand. Abram didn't seek to make allegiances. He just went and got Lot back. Thirdly, when you live in a place like Sodom, you get treated like everybody else that's there. The marauding kings treat Lot the same as everybody else. He became property. If we choose to live in a situation, we wear what comes with it. This is not necessarily speaking locationally, but definitely spiritually. Fourthly, be clever when you fight. Abram did. Basically, guerrilla warfare tactics. Fighting at night wasn't done back then, apparently. Use your brain. The other thing is, number 5, is win people back. Now, here's a big principle. Win people back because they have the possibility of their relationship to God being renewed. We know Lot chose to go back to living in Sodom. But Abram gives him the opportunity to make his own decision yet again. Give people the chance to make their own decisions.